Hello, welcome y'all. We're going to be doing some practice for our 2.1 lesson today. So hopefully you already did the working backwards lesson, and this is just going to be some extra practice to focus on those skills. So we see the lesson summary, which says solving an equation means taking steps to determine a solution. A solution to an equation is a value that makes the equation true. There are many ways to solve an equation, including working backwards, inverse operations, and moves that keep the equation balanced. That's what's really important when we're working with an equation. We got that equal sign. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. We have to keep it balanced. A good reminder at the bottom says you can always check your answer with equations, which is really nice. So whenever you have a value for x, you can plug it in and see if the statement is true. If it is true, then that means yes, you got that correct answer. So let's do some practice together. We're going to start on slide 2. Now we're looking at that working backwards. This is the machine for 2x plus 4 divided by 5 equals 12. So just noticing what we see here, here's our x, right? The first thing that we did to x was multiply it by 2. Then we add 4, then we divide by 5. So we end up getting this value of 12. So if we work backwards, instead of dividing by 5, we're going to multiply by 5. So 12 times 5 gets us 60. The next thing was add 4. So instead of adding 4, we're going to subtract 4. 60 minus 4 is 56. And then the first thing that we did, the last thing going backwards, was multiplied by 2. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we have 56 divided by 2, which gets us 28. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 28, and I'm going to clear the board, and we're going to see how the machine does. Multiply it by 2 to get 56, add 4 to get 60, divide by 5 to get 12. So we did it correctly. Yay! You'll also notice at the end of this, it will tell you when you got it correct. So number 1 is correct, so we're all set. So let's go to the next problem. Here is a machine for this equation. 1/2 times x minus 3 equals 24. So 24 is what we end up with at the very end. There are 2 things that we did to x. First, we subtracted by 3, and then we multiplied by 1/2. So to work backwards, instead of multiplying by 1/2, we will divide by 1/2. So 24 divided by 1/2. When you divide by a fraction, we think of keep, change, flip. So we end up multiplying by its reciprocal. 24 times 2 gets us 48. So that's going to go here. So we did that step. The next step was subtracting 3. So the opposite of that, working backwards, is adding 3. 48 plus 3 gets us 51. So I believe our x value is 51. Let's try it out. Minus 3 gets us 48, times 1/2 gets us 24. Perfect. So we know that we did it correct. And we can check that slide to see, yes, we got that correct. Okay. Let's look at problem 3. So this one doesn't have the machine, so we just want your brains to see multiple ways that we're working through this. So we have 5 times the quantity of 3x minus 2 equals negative 55. The first thing I want to do is get rid of this 5 in the front that is being multiplied by the whole parentheses. The opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 cancels out. That's just 1. So we're left with 3x minus 2 equals negative 55 divided by 5 is negative 11. Beautiful. Next step, we see this minus 2. So the opposite of minus 2 is adding 2. And whatever we do to both sides, we have to do to the other. Negative 2 plus 2 cancels to 0. And so we're just left with 3x equals, you can use your calculator, click that button right up here and it'll pop open. Negative 11 plus 2 is negative 9. Last step, divide both sides by 3. Since that was being multiplied, the opposite of multiplication is division. That cancels out. And we're just left with x equals negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So we can plug it in for x. We got negative 3. And we can check we got that correct. Awesome. Slide 5 when you're ready. Problem 4, we have 6x minus 2, all divided by 2 equals x plus 9. All right, so we got our x's all over the place, so we got to do some cleaning up here. The best way to start with these types of problems, we don't want to have these big division bars, so let's get rid of that. The opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So on the left, this 2 divided by 2 cancels out, which is just what we wanted. So then we just have 6x minus 2 equals 2 times x plus 9. Now notice we multiplied that whole side, x plus 9, by 2. So we can distribute the 2. 2 times x is 2x. Plus 2 times 9 is 18. Make sure you're multiplying both of those terms by 2 because the whole side got multiplied by 2. Beautiful. We can add 2. I'm going to change my color. We have this minus 2. We're going to move that to the other side by adding 2 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 2 cancels. And we just have 6x equals 2x plus 18 plus 2 is 20. Now let's get our x's together. So we're going to subtract this 2x from both sides so we have our x terms on the same side. 6x minus 2x is 4x. 2x minus 2x cancels to 0. And then we bring down that 20. And our final step is dividing both sides by 4. And then we get x equals 5. And we can submit that. Beautiful. Alrighty, let's go ahead to the next slide when you're ready. Zuina made a mistake when solving for x. We're going to show or explain her mistake. So let's take a look. Step 1, we have 3 times x minus 4 equals 5x. So the first thing that it looks like they did was distribute this 3. 3 times x gets us that 3x. 3 times negative 4 gets us negative 12. And it still equals 5x. So far, step 2 and step 1 look good to me. Now, what changed in the next step is they got rid of this 5x. They moved it over to the other side by subtracting 5x from both sides. 5x minus 5x cancels out to 0, so that's good. 3x minus 5x is a negative 2x. So it looks like the error here is they wrote this as an 8x when it should be a negative 2x. So when they subtracted 5x from both sides, they accidentally added the 5x on the left. We should have gotten negative 2x minus 12 equals 0. So if we wanted to finish this equation, negative 2x minus 12 equals 0, we could start by getting rid of this minus 12 and adding 12 to both sides. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0, so then we have negative 2x equals 12. 0 plus 12 is 12. And then divide both sides by negative 2 to get x equals 12 divided by negative 2 is a negative 6. And then you can submit. Looks good. Few more problems to go. Y'all got this. Let's look at the next one. Solve each equation for x. Okay, let's look at the first one. We have 3x plus 19 equals 40. So we want to subtract 19 on both sides. Our goal is to get x alone. So then we have 3x equals 40 minus 19 is 21. 3 times x, so the opposite operation is division. So we'll divide both sides by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So our first one is x equals 7. Let's get our second equation on the board. 5 equals x plus 1 plus 3x. We can combine some like terms here. We have a 1x and a 3x. So that can be combined because they're on the same side of the equation to be 4x plus 1. Then we can subtract 1 on both sides, starting to get x alone. 5 minus 1 is 4 equals 4x. And then divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we have 1 equals x. And go ahead and submit. Looks good. Alrighty, let's go to slide 8 when you're ready. I want you to try these two on your own. So problems 9 and 10, try on your own. And remember, you can check your work on slide 11 to make sure you're getting them correct. Let's look at problem 11. So I'll do this one with y'all. So we're going to write the equation 2 times 5x plus 6 equals 17. So we can distribute this 2. 2 times 5x is 10x plus 2 times 6 is 12 equals 17. Then we can subtract 12 on both sides, starting to get that x more alone. So then we just have 10 times x equals 5. 17 minus 12 is 5. And then divide both sides by 10 to get x completely alone. And we have x equals 5/10, which can be reduced to 1/2 or 0.5. You can write it whichever way. Beautiful. And problem 12 says select all 3 equations where x equals 0.5. So for this one, you're going to finish this last one on your own. There's multiple equations you're going to select. So if you start with the first one, 3 equals 2x plus 1. I'll make this a little bigger. If 0.5 is the solution, when we plug in 0.5, we should get a true statement. So wherever we see an x, we're going to put 0.5. So we have 3 equals 2 times 0.5 plus 1. 2 times 0.5 is 1. So we get 1 plus 1, which is 2. And this is not equal. So the first one is not going to be one of our answers. Try and figure out which of the 4 below is going to get you a true statement, and then check your answer. Make sure that you submit this into Schoology when you are all finished. Y'all got this. You rock. Reach out to me if you need anything. Bye, friends.